Hello everybody, welcome back. This will be my entry to Sloop John H's 100 subscribers contest. Now Sloop John H is a relatively recent addition to the vinyl community family of channels on YouTube, and he has now reached the 100 subscriber mark in a fairly short amount of time. Well done, John. Now he asks a number of questions to be answered for his contest. And I always kind of appreciate these sort of question and answer kind of threads and contest responses. It kind of gives a chance to show and talk about different things than maybe you normally would on your channel. So the first question John asks is, what are some records that your parents listened to when you were growing up? Now my parents had a few records, not a whole lot. We had one of those big old stereos with an 8-track player and all that. My mom had some kind of folk records, one or two Judy Collins ones. My dad was mainly into like the military marching band records, bagpipe records, one or two kind of country or easy listening kind of things, I guess you'd say. But not anything too crazy interesting for LPs. They did have a few interesting 45s with the odd rock and roll tune in there that I grew up listening to. But when I got into the teenage years and started getting interested in music, records were still the format of choice then. And we started going around to the flea markets, my parents and I, and picking up some used records. And one of the ones that we definitely picked up and enjoyed together, I've shown this before in a previous contest video, but I might as well show it again, was Pet Sounds. You can see the cover is pretty beat up there. Vinyl's actually in not too bad shape, plays really well. And Sloop John B was one of my mom's favorite songs. She would always sing along to that one. So those were definitely some records that were around growing up. And Jan and Dean was another one. We used to pick up their records. Just that kind of thing. Any of that surf kind of sound was popular. More on my mom's side, I guess. And your next question was name a record that you're waiting to be reissued. And this was actually the toughest one for me. I had to really think about this for a while. And finally I came up with one. Probably nobody's going to have heard of it, but it is by an artist called Stranger Cole. He was a Jamaican singer, came up in the music business in the ska era of the 1960s in Jamaica. In the 1970s he immigrated to Canada and released his debut album here. It's a pretty rare one, not unattainable, but it's definitely going to cost you a few coins to get one. And it's never been reissued since. Some of the tracks from it were reissued on this compilation from a few years ago, Glory, Dominion, Majesty, Power, on the PK, Half Moon PK label out of Canada. And the album is called Forward in the Land of Sunshine from 1976, I believe. Never reissued since. That's definitely high on my wants list, and one that I would definitely like to see reissued. Kind of a, like I say, kind of a landmark album in the history of Jamaican music in Canada. And next question you asked was, what was your best blind buy? Now this one I had to think about too. There was quite a few things I could have picked. The blind buys are one of the most rewarding things about buying used records and collecting music, as you can pick up things you've never heard of, sometimes very cheap, and it can open you up to a whole new world of things you didn't know about previously, and find out about the history of it. And I just love that kind of stuff. I find that really exciting about collecting music. But the one I've decided to select for my answer to that question was one I've showed in an earlier video, last year I think sometime. Now I found this record in a thrift store. It was 50 cents. I'd never heard of it before, but it is Crack of Dawn. It's a Canadian release from 1976 on Columbia. Now I had never heard of this. The front cover is kind of nondescript, but checking the back cover, you can see these guys look kind of funky. So I was thinking maybe it was some Canadian R&B or funk kind of thing. And checking the players on here, I recognize one or two names on here. Glenn Ricketts on lead vocals. I definitely heard of him. He is a solo reggae singer. So I picked this up, and sure enough it is on kind of the R&B funk tip. And researching into this, I found out all about the history of it. I ended up writing a piece about this on my blog page, and got in touch with a couple of the key members of the band, the Harvey brothers, Carl and Rupert, who together and separately have had incredible careers in different groups and throughout the decades. Carl Harvey is actually on tour with Toots and the Maytals right now. He's been the lead guitar player in that band since 1980, a few years after this record was released. So he is on the road with them. So that was definitely a cool blind buy that just inspired me to write about it, first of all, research it, and just find out the influence and the history that record had. And I believe that group is actually in the process of reuniting and working on some new material, last I heard. The next question you had was favorite place to buy vinyl, like in stores or online. Now, early in my record collecting, I did buy off eBay quite a bit. I think you mentioned that's kind of your preferred thing to do. I did that for a while. I've gone off it for several years now. I just found it kind of empty, not very rewarding. Half the fun for me is going to record stores, record fairs, and just seeing what's out there. You never kind of know what you're going to come across. There's kind of a record karma or mojo that gets at work that kind of puts certain records in your path at certain times, and it's kind of fun to follow those paths. So I may get a bit more into the online buying as the things I'm looking for get tougher and tougher to find in the wild. But I definitely prefer to buy in person at either a store or record fair or the odd record dealer that I've come to know. And the last question you ask is to talk about an import record. So I have one right here, and this is a record I found in a thrift store. It is not from Jamaica. I bet you're all expecting that. But it is the Shylights. A Lonely Man. Includes one of their big hits, Oh Girl. What else is on here? Cover of Inner City Blues. Marvin Gaye song, of course. And yeah, I think Oh Girl is about the most famous song on here. And this is actually, like I said, I found this in a thrift store, and it's some kind of Asian pressing. I'm not entirely sure what country it would be. Maybe Hong Kong, maybe China. And of course the sleeve, I guess this is typical for those countries. Very flimsy kind of paper. It's got the lyrics in English. And the rest of the writing is as you see here. If anybody has any idea what pressing that would be, I'd love to hear about it. So that is my entry to your contest, John. Well done on 100 subscribers, and good luck with the contest, and cheers.